Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to be talking about the dreaming stage tonight of entrepreneurship. And it's such a beautiful, it really is a beautiful stage to be in. I feel like we're always, it's, it's something that we visit a lot, the dreaming stage. So even when you're further along in your business and you're launching, or you have a current existing business, you will constantly find yourself back in the dreaming stage. So it's not something that we ever stop doing. So we're going to be talking about that tonight, and we're really excited to discuss that. Okay. All right. So I have a couple questions for you guys. Let me pull up the thing here. Okay. So if you're just joining us, go ahead and put your name and where you're from, your city and your state, just so that we can say hi and know where you are watching from. Also, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment, and at the end we will be answering questions and just giving encouragement. So if there's anything throughout this live that you relate to, or you have just questions about, or even that's something that you want encouragement for, we are here to do that. We're here to encourage you, and in this dreaming stage, when you're in the dreaming stage, any stage of business in your entrepreneurial journey, you need encouragement. But in that, in the dreaming stage, it's really just the encouragement to keep going. So, Jenna, will you move your headphone a little bit? It's a little fuzzy. I know. We've been having like headphone issues.
Yes or
sometimes. No? Yeah. No, you might have to take them out.
Okay.
It's okay.
Can you still hear me okay if I don't have them in?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So I have a few questions for you. And all right, guys. Technical difficulties.
Real life.
And we're gonna have to have her put back in the headphones.
I am.
Because all I'm getting is an echo. So we're gonna deal with the fuzziness. Hey, Jenna. And honestly, I feel like the fuzziness is not too bad. So we're just gonna go with it because it is a live. It's not like professional video. Okay, ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I'm ready. Okay, are you guys ready? This must be a really important stage to talk about. Okay, so we're gonna get started, and I'm so glad that you guys are here, and feel free to engage and just whatever you feel like. Just be comfortable tonight and just enjoy. So the questions that we have to start with are, these are just questions to get you dreaming and creating, which is very important, that in this dreaming stage that you're always like exercising that. And sometimes I go on my porch and I, like today, I'll be honest with you, had a lot of work to do. And I told my husband, I just want to dream with God right now. And even though I did have a lot of work to do, so I wasn't able to do it as much as I wanted to, like get away and just like drink my coffee and sit with him and just dream with him. Because that's what I felt like today. I need to dream with you. And so these questions are just to get you dreaming and creating. So I'm going to ask these questions, and just put your comment, add it to the comments, and because we love to hear what God's speaking to you and just different things. So I know that you've probably been asked this before, but if you could do anything and money wasn't an issue, what would you do? So I want you to think about those things. And this was actually Jenna's question that I took. So sorry, Jenna.
That's okay.
Um, if you could do anything and money wasn't an issue, what would you do? So I want you just to think about that. Okay, Jenna, what would you do?
I would buy a farm
Okay,
and renovate it. I've had a dream of renovating like an old farmhouse, but also a large barn. I would really love for it to have a cool old barn on the property that could be renovated. So I would love for it to turn into a modern operating farm and family retreat center.
that's awesome. And would you do that in Maryland?
Be
Or are you
wherever God takes
open
me.
to anywhere?
That
Okay,
would be
that's
cool if it
really
was in
cool.
Maryland, but it would be cool anywhere.
Okay, so with that being if you could do anything and money was an issue, what would you do? So that being your answer, how do you dream with God with that? How would you dream with God on that? What would you ask him?
So some of the questions that I ask him now, because it is a current dream of mine,
Okay,
is this a right now a dream or is this a for the future?
got it.
Also, if this is something that you want me to do, what are the solutions for
Okay,
that?
that's cool.
Whether that's creating other businesses to support that financially, or it's just waiting on him to send the right connections or answers.
Okay, that's really cool. So I just I like that because it gets us when we hear the way that other people dream, it it just encourages us what is possible and even shows us like, oh, I could ask that question, or oh, this is how they've heard from God, or things like that. So I always love hearing how people dream with God. And so if you have something that you would do, anything, and you weren't looking at finances and money and all of that, what would you do? I would love to hear in the comments if you guys would add some things, and you can take your time to think about it. But I'm going to ask you again if I don't say any, because I want to know. I want to know, how do you dream with God? What is your heart? Um, so the next question that I have is, how do you inspire yourself to continue dreaming? And so for me, how I continue dreaming is I get around other dreamers, and sometimes it's just having coffee with someone who dreams really big. And I've gone and just met up with someone that's a really extreme dreamer, and I know that we would just bat things back and forth and be like, oh my gosh, and this, and we could do this and this and this. And when you leave, you are like, I don't know, it's just like, it's almost like you've expanded your capacity to dream. And one, you see that you're not the only one who dreams like that, and they encourage you to dream even further. So they're like pulling it out of you. When you're with a dreamer, they'll pull it out of you. They'll ask you questions, and they're like, well, okay, so why don't you do it? Or, things like that. So I get around other dreamers to continue dreaming. Um, Sometimes I call and I'm like, hey, I need to have coffee with you. So I encourage you to do both of those. Encourage you when you in that dreaming stage, and for the rest of your life, whatever stage you find yourself in on this entrepreneurial journey, that you're always dreaming with God. You're always exercising that. Um, I already see the questions that are coming in, and I love them, and I am gonna, I think I'm gonna answer them a little further. I have some time in here to answer them, but Janice, I see your question, that I've been there, and so I want to really answer that question. So if this is the first time you've been on and you don't know who we are, we want to introduce ourselves so that you know a little bit about us. My name is Kimberly, and I'm the founder of Oh Free Bird Fly, and I am a mentor and an educator for the learning platform for Oh Free Bird Fly. And I am married been married 23 years, and I have 2 young adult sons, and I love dreaming, and I believe God pretty big, and coffee, and that's who I am. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Jenna.
I'm Jenna Shriver. I'm one of the mentors for Freebird Fly. I'll be leading the community that will be launching soon. And I'm a writing contributor, so some of the posts that go out on Facebook and Instagram are for me. I'm also married 7 years, and we have 2 young boys and 1 little one on the way.
Yay. Okay, so we we are just like, I felt like, just to tell you, we're 2 women that had separate dreams from God, and we said yes. And so that's where we're here today. And we both understand and love this stage of business. So today we're going to be sharing on this dreaming stage of entrepreneurship for women. And then we're also going to share a few of our own stories and tips on stewarding this stage well. And the tips are things that God has just given us along the way. And as we develop them along the way, develop them back. So I'm going to start by defining the dreaming stage. And so if you find yourself in the dreaming stage, you have one or multiple ideas, and you're just seeking direction on which one to choose and how to start. You're also desiring clarity on who you're meant to serve. So this can be that you don't have a business at all, and you're just in that dreaming stage where you have so many ideas and you just don't know which one to choose. Or you do have a business and you are adding, you're ready to add new things. You have all these ideas going through your head, and you're like, okay, you're dreaming with God, and He's kind of like stirring you to add these new things. Or you might even be starting something additional to what you currently have. So that is the dreaming stage. And Jenna, you want to go over some of the things that we felt like God was showing us about it?
Yes, so
Okay.
in talking about the dreaming stage, we felt like there were some common frustrations and struggles that can come up. And so we wanted to share what some of them are with you, and you can let us know if they resonate with you, if you would like to. One of them is that you have too many dreams and don't know which one to choose and are questioning which one God has for you. You may be asking yourself, how will I pursue this dream without the finances and resources that I need? I have this dream, but I need to work a full-time job. How do I start and pursue the dream while working full-time? You may also be feeling like, how am I going to do this by myself? Especially the areas that maybe I'm not as gifted in, or you just don't want to do. You may have these big dreams, but be afraid to step out because you might not believe that you're equipped to actually do it. And you may be asking yourself, how could I do something that big?
Yeah.
You may know that you're called to entrepreneurship, and you may have tried different ideas and haven't found the one that you love and are uniquely suited for. And you may now be afraid to step out and try something new.
Okay.
Real life.
Okay. Real life. Hi. Okay. So who has who has had any of these frustrations? When I was listening to those just now, I was thinking about the fact that most of those sound like me, and I've been there. So, yeah. So if any of those sound familiar to you, if will you put in the comments me, and that will let us know that you can relate, and that and then we can understand where you're coming from, and where you are. And if you find yourself relating to that dreaming stage, would you put dreaming in there? And that also, or actually dreaming stage, and that will let us know who on here is in the dreaming stage. And I do see some yeses and me's and all of that. So the one that all of them really, I was like, yes, 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 yes. But then when she got to the one about, I know that I'm called to entrepreneurship and I've tried different things and I haven't found the one that I love and I'm uniquely suited for, and then being afraid to step out again. For me, I felt like this definitely, I've been there, and it was kind of like, I think one of my fears for stepping out again in that was that it was almost like, oh gosh, what is she doing now? Again, what is this new dream that she has? Because we know that when you're an entrepreneur, you know you have this call to it, and you're searching for that thing. But I do believe that God has solutions for that, and that that I do believe that there's a way for us to not have to go through exploring so many different things. I do believe that He can take us really like directly to where we're called, who we're meant to serve, and then He can develop it from there. So it's like you don't find yourself going to all these different things and trying all these things until you know what you want. So anyways, and that's a lot of what we'll be talking about. So we both know this stage very well, and we understand. And so that's where we've come to say there's hope, and we know that there's solutions. We've seen the other side of this. And I wanted to tell you that if in experiencing those things that she mentioned, that I want to tell you that they won't stop you from seeing your dreams realized. So I've been in the midst of that and felt like I am never going to see I'm never going to see what I desire this to be an entrepreneur. I'm never going to see these things realized. And so I do want to encourage you that that will not stop you from seeing them. And though they seem big and overwhelming, that if you will partner with God and also partner with women who have gone before you, and people who will encourage you and don't quit, you will see it happen. So something that I wrote here is that in this dreaming stage, I felt like it's not like I want to give a warning, but I want to give caution. And I want to give caution in that a lot of times we have all of these ideas and things coming at us, but we also are presented with lots and lots of opportunities, things to connect with, businesses to do, and all of these things. It's almost like, I don't know if you're like a magnet in that, like where you're the dreaming stage, you have so many ideas and so many dreams, and I could do this and I could do that. And so I want to caution you to just be still with God and really ask Him before you jump and do something. That is different than jumping and saying yes and doing when He says go. That's different. I'm talking about where you're like, you have all these things presented and you're seeing all these things, and it's easy to grab one really fast and run with it without stopping to partner and dream with God. And I will always just really teach and share fully with you guys. So this goes with if somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, do you want to partner with me to do this thing? Do you want me to partner with me to lead this group or Bible study? Or this is in ministry and business. This is in our entire life. This is in somebody wanting to have a partnership with you in business, like a business deal. This is in network marketing. You are at a party and or a presentation or whatever it is, and you're presented with these opportunities. Do not make the decision on hand. If it is the don't be afraid of missing out. You don't have to be afraid of missing out. Um, make a core value for your life that um, I will always be still with God, and before I make a business decision. You could even go, what kind of core value should I make for my life, God? That I will. It could be I'll sleep on it before I make a big business decision. Because I'm telling you, even in network marketing, that is a business. So you are saying yes to a business. So that is a business decision that needs to go through. Like, you need to process that. I always look at things and I go, is this leading me to where God is leading me? Is this going to distract me, or is this going to lead me to where he's leading me? And how will you know? You won't know unless you ask him. You won't know unless you ask him. So I just want to just be still, talk to God, ask him. You might know in the moment. You might know this is it. I've been asking God, and then make the decision. But I just want to caution you. I want to encourage you to be still with him, and then you might not find yourself making a decision, and then like months later going, man, that wasn't where I was, the direction I was supposed to go, or that's not even what I love to do. Get with God. Let other women that have seriously, like women, men that get with other people who you trust and will encourage you, but be still in your decision making. So I want to encourage you with that. The other thing was something that I've been presented with often, and the dreams that I have tend to be like very large. And so for me, and this could be any dream, this isn't just a matter of it being really large. This could be, God wants me to step out and write a book. Okay, well, that takes finances, right? Okay. Anything. So the question that I'm presented with is, how will I pursue this dream without the finances and resources I need? Or how am I going to do this by myself? Like, not having, because I don't want to wear every hat. I don't want to be the accountant. I don't want to do all those things. And so I have found that I've gotten paralyzed before, and I dream. So you have these dreams, and then you're like, yes, I can do this, all of that. But then you're presented with that big question. Well, how am I going to do this financially? I don't have the finances to do it. How am I going to build a website? How am I going to be the marketing rep? How am I going to do all these things? And before you know it, you're paralyzed and you don't go any further. I've been there many times. I've also not been there. I've also gone and stepped but I have been there and been paralyzed and not gone any further because I was so afraid to not. I was just like, I paid attention to all the ifs and whats, and you can't do this. How are you going to do this? And I got paralyzed. So my solution for that, what I found, and is now, I will tell you, with anything you do, it's dreaming with God and hearing from him. Because once I did that, I knew it was from him, and it didn't matter what anybody said. It didn't matter what finances said. It didn't matter the resources in front of me that I didn't have. It didn't matter if I not an accountant and I'm not all those things. Once I knew from him that this was it, it's like it's on, and he will lead me. And so that is my solution. My solution to you is that you get with God and you dream with him. And you'll, when you hear from him, when it hits you, it's like it just, when it hit, it hits you. And that comes with dreaming with God. And there's so many things with dreaming with him. So you're able to trust him and move with him, and he'll give you solutions and he'll give you resources, and you just step, and then you create, and you're like, okay, now what's next? You might even hit some roadblocks that you're like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this. And you might not know how to do this. Like, there was a time where I didn't know. It was like, how am I going to, I knew I was going to build a website, but I began to build the website, and then I was like, I don't know how to do these things that I need to with these videos and all this stuff on this website. And so I asked God, I started dreaming with him, and he led me to somebody. He brought somebody that knew how to do this. And so the dreaming with God and trusting him all the way through. Don't quit. Trusting him all the way through, because he has a solution. If he led you to the dream, he has a solution. He'll give it to you. Be still. Wait on him. It might be a week. It might be 2 weeks. Okay? Just wait on him. Don't just throw it away. Just keep going. And these are dreaming with God and the resources and this whole stage. These are all things that we will be teaching in the mentoring. So Jenna, I want you to share. Will you share something that just has been on your heart about it?
Yeah, so I'm going to share on the struggle or the frustration about having these big dreams, but being afraid to step out because I don't believe I'm equipped to do it, and wondering how in the world could I do something that big.
Yeah.
A lot of the frustrations we share resonate with me, but this one I felt like resonated the most, so I wanted to share about it. God began showing me what he created me to do, or who he created me to be, about 5 years ago. And I would see women doing similar things, and I was just very drawn to them. And God would just whisper to my heart that this is just a glimpse into who you're going to be one day. And I would always like shrink back in insecurity and go, me? Like, how in the world, and why me? Just why me? And I would just ask him things like, what's so special about me that you chose me for that?
Yeah.
And I just felt like I always felt like I wasn't enough for a place of influence, like he was showing me that he was going to give me. And during the experience that I had where he showed me that I was believing the lie that I wasn't enough, it was like a stone wall that was built around me just collapsed. And all of a sudden I was exposed and vulnerable, and I could, you can't go back once that happens. But it was the best thing, because it was freeing. It set me free. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. But he told me, after he showed me that that was the lie I was being held back by and being prisoned by, he said, where we're going, you're going to have to leave that behind. Like, it's baggage. It's weighing you down. Looking back on that moment, I think it's really interesting that he didn't tell me that I was enough. And he also didn't tell me that he was enough, that was the answer. And that's just, it's because it's individual to me. It might be different for you.
Yeah.
But he just told me, nope, leave that behind. We got to get moving, going forward.
Yeah.
And it was just, this is weighing you down. Let go and let's go. And for a few years, like the past 4 to 5 years, I've really pressed in on this with him, and yet still struggled through a lot of it about like this calling and dream, because it hadn't yet been fully realized, and like feeling like I'm carrying this promise of what he's shown me, and it hasn't happened yet. But I came to realize that what I was taught growing up, whether it was intentional or not, was that if we aspire to a place of influence, that it's actually making things about us instead of about God. And so God began to deconstruct that lie as well. What he taught me is that we need to recognize that insecurity is actually self-focused, and it keeps us from becoming who he's created us to be, and it keeps us playing small.
Yeah.
We just need to follow God's leading and not get caught up with pleasing others or weighed down by restrictions that they may try to place on us, that God hasn't placed on us.
Yeah.
And I also believe that we need to know who Jesus has empowered us to be. That's something
Yeah.
he's taught me a
That's
lot,
good.
especially over the past year. Just as his follower, as a woman, as a daughter, like all the roles that we are to him, we need to know who we are in that role, fully empowered, and just begin to walk in that authority. So I
That's good.
highly recommend if this sounds like interesting to you, if you're like, I
Yeah.
need this, go read the Gospels and just pay really close attention to how Jesus empowered his disciples.
It's good.
And then after that, go into the rest of the New
It's really
Testament
good.
and look to see how did they live those principles out once Jesus left and the Holy Spirit was poured out. And just look to see how their lives were so different from when Jesus was training them up to when they were set free, so to speak, like released to do what he called them to do. That has empowered me so much just by taking the time to do that.
I love that.
So our heart, like my heart, our heart for
So good.
Freebird Fly mentoring is that we want to build big people. We're
Yeah.
not looking to build cookie cutter versions of ourselves, but we want to, we just want to build big people who are empowered to be all that God created them to be.
That's good. I love that. Um, so when you were talking about the insecurity and just worrying about, like, not worrying about what people think and those things, I was thinking about that today with fear of man and just fear of like being kind of like crippled to not moving forward with things that God has shown you and calls you to because you think like, what will people think? And honestly, I think too, the I'm not enough can also come from looking at what we think, will people think we're enough? And I think that cannot do that. But I was thinking like, you know, the question can be like, well, that sounds easy, just to walk away from being fearful of what people think. You know, I was thinking this in my head about
Yeah.
when I was thinking about this today. And so I'm like, okay, so yeah, like if it was that easy just to go, oh, well, I won't care what people think anymore, when that's been something you've done, what does that look like? So I wanted to share that. What does that look like to do that, to walk away from that fear of an insecurity over, you know, what people think about you and what you create and share and all that. And it really is simple. It's so very simple that it is really going to him and asking him, recognize that and say, hey, I don't like this and it's got to go. It's got to go and I need help and will you empower me? Will you strengthen me in that area? And I'm in, strengthen me, empower me. And then he does it. So I feel like it's just constantly that going back to him and letting him strengthen you and empower you. So I wanted to answer some of the questions here. So some of the responses were, one was, the money question, an answer was, I would spend more time with God, pray, write, teach, and share my faith in all I do. And that was Anne. And then Anne also, I am most inspired by God's word and spirit, reading his word on my own with him and absolutely with others. I'm energized by others. Anne, are you a teacher? Like do you teach the word? Do you lead Bible studies or do you mentor women or kids or something? There's got to be something. Will you put in the comments like what you love doing and what you do? I'm just curious about that. But I wanted to answer Britt and Janice. Janice said, "How do you handle extreme disappointment?" Whew. And like you thought God was setting something up, you dreamed and fell in love with it, and then it fell apart, asking for a friend. That is so good. I love that, Janice. That's good. And then Britt Peck said, "Can you share a couple tips for people on how to dream with God again?" All right, so I want to answer Janice. Okay, so I have so been there, and I'll share more of my story as this Oh Free Bird Fly goes on. But I dreamed really, really big, and I started a clothing franchise, and it was like my baby, and it was like my full dream, it was my very first really stepping out and actually creating something and dreaming, and and I ended up not partnering with the right people, and it was it fell apart. So it fell apart. It was taken, all these things, bad. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. And I was heartbroken, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with business. And I ran, and I was like, for years. So that was the last closing of our stores was in 2012. And I ran. I didn't want anything to do with business because it hurt so bad. And then I also experienced the same thing, not same thing, but something similar in ministry because I teach. And, like I really put my heart and like totally dreamed with God. And I thought it was going to be forever. And both things I thought would be forever. And when that happened, I was like, I don't want anything to do with ministry. I am not dreaming again. I am not doing any of that again because it hurt to dream again. And so that was extreme disappointment where I even had panic and even thinking about it or even moving towards it. And so anyways, I've definitely experienced that, and I let God heal me. And I had probably about 4 or 5 people around me that understood, and they didn't push me too much, but they also didn't let me throw my calling away, and they encouraged me and loved me through it. But I just kept moving towards God, and it was scary, and I told him that I would move toward business. I would move towards business things and getting around business people and things like that. And I would cry there. I would cry, and I would panic, and I would have so much anxiety, and I would run, and I would go, okay, I'm not going back. And then I would move, but I constantly would move back towards it. I never stopped moving towards it. And then also back into ministry. So I don't know if yours is ministry, business, what it is, but I just kept moving towards it, and I asked God, lead me, lead me, lead me. And I just kept, I told him, I recognize that I can't stay here. I can't stay in fear and hurt and all of that. Will you heal me? So I just moved, it was moving towards him, asking him to heal me. And my people stood around me, and they stood with me, and they encouraged me, and they prayed for me and loved me. And it was a very, the first process with business was a lot of years because I didn't really know about fully with people and God. And I pressed in with God finally. But the ministry thing, it was over so quick because the fact that I moved towards God. And that's what I believe. So I want to encourage you, Janice, that I pray. If this is it for you? Is it for you? Yeah. Okay. So I pray for just healing over your heart, and that you would trust God to dream again. And I know that it's scary and it hurts, but I want to just do it crying, do it bawling, laying on your bed, whatever you got to do, just do it. But just move towards him and he will heal you. So I hope that helps. And then Britt also said, how do you dream again? And it's really, I feel like it's trusting him to dream again. And you can, and he showed me that, you know what my husband told me, and I want to share this with you guys. I was so like, after all of that, I was so afraid to do it again. And he told me, he was like, God's never going to give you anything that's bad. And he's not going to give you any, like the gifts too. I was so afraid of anything that had to do with gifts, giftings and all that, because I used all of those. And he was just like, he encouraged me and he said, God will not give you anything that is bad. So trust him, just trust him. And so it was a moving towards. And so anyways, so if anybody can relate, I tell you, just dream again, crying, dream again, hurting, and he'll heal your heart and he'll heal you. And I'm telling you, I made a post about that. I did a video on that. I have no sting. And it was extreme disappointment, extreme loss, what I felt like. So there's no sting. He heals. And, you know, it might happen again. I don't know, but it's worth it. So anyways, that's all I have. All right. So I think I'm supposed to hand it over to you, Jenna, right? Is this you next or me?
I can if you want to.
Okay.
It's up to you.
I have something towards one of these that I wrote down off of what you were doing. So I just want to, okay. So I'm going to keep going and then Jenna's going to take over. I wanted to give you guys, I hope that this helped you guys. So I want to give you 3 things that you can do right now to steward your dreaming stage. And one would be intentionally plan and seek quiet time with God. And I know that I'm sure most of you on here do that. And some of you might not. But intentionally plan it and seek that quiet time with him. Go to your favorite spot that you feel most creative. I was telling my husband that I have this creative dreaming spot and I have this working place and I can't mix the two. I tried the other day and I was like, I'm just dreaming out here. I'm not even working. So find that spot that you feel most creative, and everyone's different. Coffee shop, outside, in your bedroom. I don't know what about you guys. My most creative spot is outside and then the coffee shop. Take a journal with you and listen for the Holy Spirit's leading as you dream. If you have never done that, not everybody has done that. And I had never done that before. And when I did it, that's when I got the vision for O Free Bird Fly. So I encourage you to do that. Take your journal, listen for the Holy Spirit to lead you as you dream. Partner with someone you trust who is also a big dreamer. Somebody who, they don't have to have the same vision as you, but they should have like the same like depth to see their own dreams realized, and you can spur each other on. That's what happens. Accountability. So accountability, I love this meaning of accountability. Accountability has sometimes sounded like really harsh and ugly, but this is one that I've heard before, and it's great. And it's accountability means holding each other accountable for all you are able to do. An account of your ability. So find people that will hold you accountable to all you are able to do, and focusing on your gifts and not what you can't do. Focus on what you can do. And you can even take things that are like, I told y'all that I write up on my board, like, I want to grow in this area. You know, that means I can. So that is something I'm able to do. So growing in that area. And then the other one is digging into scripture to discover what God has to say about the topic you're dreaming about. I love that. And Jenna mentioned it about going to the Gospels and seeing how God led disciples. So if the thing you're dreaming about is leading people, go see how Jesus led, and even how he led women, because this is Oh Freebird Fly is for women. So I was thinking about that when you said that. How did Jesus lead women? So let's go find that out. So those are the three things that you can. Those are three things you can do now. There's many more, but this is just going to get you started, and just go do that. So, Jenna.
All right. So if you're finding yourself in the dreaming stage of entrepreneurship, which we define as you have one or multiple ideas and are seeking direction on which one to choose, how to start, and you may be desiring clarity on who you're meant to serve. If this stage describes you or you can relate to anything that we shared today, we encourage you to check out the Oh Freebird Fly mentoring program. And that is on our website, and we'll also put the link here in the comments. I'll actually put it in now. So you can head over. All the information that you need to know about the mentoring program is there. But if any questions come up, you can feel free to reach out to us. You can either comment here on this live, and we will see it, especially if you tag us. We'll definitely see if you tag us.
True.
Or you can email us at ohfreebirdflycommunity@gmail.com. And soon we will have the ability to email us directly from the website once we have a menu up. And we encourage you to, we just encourage you to take the steps necessary to see your dreams realized. Yeah. Like if you are in this stage and you feel like I'm ready to actually do something with the dream or dreams that I have, take the steps necessary. Share this and tag your friends who are also in the dreaming stage. Or who are just big dreamers.
Yeah.
Also, you can sign up for our email newsletter, which is launching in February. We're so excited about it.
Yeah.
The content on the email newsletter will not be the same content that comes out through social media, so you'll want to be in for the exclusive content that will be coming out through that. And then what we have going on next is you can join us this Thursday evening, January 3rd at 7 p.m. for a more in-depth look into the launching stage of entrepreneurship, where we're going to provide you with some next steps on this stage and kind of like we did tonight, probably share some stories and solutions for you. And then on January 8th, we'll be talking about the nurturing stage. So if you know anyone who is launching or nurturing a business, invite them to join us on our next live events.
Yep. And that's it. All right.
That's it.
Thank you guys.